Copper Age saw major sales this month, with indie giants like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo making waves. Meanwhile, Todd McFarlane continues to dominate with high dollar sales on Spawn and Spider-Man. Even Pee Wee Herman got in on all the action. We're going to go over to Copper Age Chartbusters. These are the books that came out 1985 to 2000. They're, again, another great list of books. Let's take a look at number 5, the highest selling book. Ha! Who would have guessed it? Spawn number 1, 1991 for Image Comics. This one's special because this one sold for $5,000 on eBay on February 2nd in an auction. We talked about defects in qualified grades. This one's the same thing, which is a manufacturer error, and it did not have the black ink on the cover. So this one was missing the black ink. This is a rarity. That's why it's $5,000.
And I never actually heard of this variant before, so that's cool to see that. I gotta say, if you start to get into the collecting, do a little research into these covers, because a lot of times you can find them listed or in your area and people don't know what they have. And this would be one of those cases where, this comes in and when it came out, they probably didn't even know that it was anything. So just, watch for that.
Yeah. And you know what? Looking at it, you couldn't tell, right? You couldn't tell. It obviously, if you put the two in front of each other, then you'll see it. But by looking at it, it looks fine as is.
Yeah.
Yeah. A 9.4 selling for $5,000. Who would have guessed it?
Yeah. It's like we talked about on Monday about the Spider-Man with the purple lizard, or the different colors.
Copper and blue.
Copper and blue. And then, Galacticus being a different color in Secret Wars #1. You got to watch for that too. Those are little interesting things in these books. It's fun.
So when you see, and I said this earlier, when you see a green label, it means it's qualified. That means the book is an error. It doesn't mean that the book is bad. It doesn't mean anything like that. It doesn't mean that it's restored. It just means that the book has an error. So when you see a green label, it's actually not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time there's confusion around it, because sometimes you'll see it and it'll be a green label, and sometimes it's not. The biggest case of that I see is Amazing Spider-Man 238, because it used to get a green label. If it didn't have the tattoos, then they switched and it doesn't. So there's some with green, some with not. So there is a little bit of confusion around that label for sure.
Yeah, it's not the same as a purple label. When you see a purple label, you're like, I don't want to touch that.
Yeah, exactly.
A green label is like, maybe I do want to touch that, because it might be something very rare and something that you could probably make a good penny off of. So Spawn #1, the green qualified label at 9.4, that sold for $5,000. Number 5, let's take a look at number 4. Mad 273. This book came out in 1987 for EC Comics. So this was before Mad was sold to DC Comics. This book also sold for $5,000, and that was on February 15th on eBay. What's really cool about this one is that it's signed with your pal, Pee Wee Herman, by Paul Reubens. Pee Wee Herman.
I loved Mad Magazine when I was a kid, so this would be a fun one. Again, though, for me, like, this is a sell one. I would sell it for that. But it would be cool to have his signature, and it's verified, and you're not going to get any more of those, obviously.
It's a 9.8 as well. So $5,000 is a pretty solid sell for this book for a person that's no longer with us. Yeah, and it's a cool book to have. You get Pee Wee Herman, your pal Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah,
that's cool. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Albedo, is that how we say it? Albedo, number 2. Albedo number 2 from 1984. Thoughts and Images, not to be mistaken for Image. Thoughts and Image Comics. This book sold for $6,250 on eBay February 10th. This features the first appearance of Usagi Yojimbo. Also has letters from Peter Laird and Dom Thompson. A 9.0 went for $6,250 for this book.
This is one of those books where I've kind of missed the boat on it, but this book has a huge, not a huge, but have very dedicated following. There's people that hold on to this book and always people searching for it. And obviously look at it, that black all the way around, very difficult to get a good grade, low print run. And yeah, that lines up to make it a pretty valuable book.
Usagi Yojimbo, they're still performing books. Usagi Yojimbo is a beloved character. He gets mixed into the whole Turtles lore because they had some appearances together early. But this character has always been a fun character. It's always been a great character. So the fact that this book sold for $6,000 is actually, I'm really happy about that for this book. It's another book that's rare, and like you said, the black makes it hard to get it at a high grade. But the book still, the character still stands the test of time. A very indie character as well, because he doesn't really go outside of comics as much. So, okay, let's take a look at number 2. Talking about the Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 from 1984 from Mirage Studios. This book sold on eBay at a fixed price on February 9th for $9,000, a 7.0, featuring the first appearance of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splinter, and Shredder. The book that got away.
Yeah, those Turtle fans, man, they hunt this book, and people get it. And I think out of most of the books, those classic keys, that most people are like, they get a 4 and then they try to get the 5 and then they trade and try to get the 6. So, and this is a low print run too, because no one knew that the Turtles was going to take off when this book came out.
Yeah, I agree. The Turtles in 84 were, no one knew who they were. Nobody. This would have been a Kickstarter project.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Because at that time, Eastman and Laird were selling the books out in their neighborhoods and getting it out so people could buy it. So the print run for this book is very, very small.
Yeah.
And therefore makes this book very sought after. And even at a 7.0, people are willing to cough up nearly $10,000 for this book.
Yeah. And I mentioned this on the weekly show, and I don't mind, admitting my faults for sure. And this is one, like you said, I remember I was there the day this hit the stands. I looked at it on the rack and turned to the comic store owner, my, what is this, 84? So this is my 13-year-old self. Turned to him and went, what the heck is in my hand? I had the book. What the heck is this book? No one is going to buy this. And I put it back down and bought, some other book.
And you're right. Probably no one did buy it. And that's why it's so rare.
Yeah.
But those that did buy it are happy today.
Yes, they are.
That's number 2. Let's take a look at the number 1 copper book of February, and that is Spider-Man #1, the Platinum Edition. This came out in 1990 from Marvel Comics. A 9.8, signed by Todd McFarlane himself. $10,000.
I mean, we just talked about this book. Look at that one, and this is one that, again, if I'm there in front of him and he signs this book, I'm most likely keeping this one. This is a keeper.
Mm-hmm. It's a great book. Here's another thing to take note of. It's a 9.8. It's signed by Todd McFarlane. It's the Platinum Edition. And it's the Todd McFarlane label.
Yeah, love it.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. $10,000. Thank you. Now,
Yeah.
would you sell this one?
Now, like I said, like if I actually was there, like I would sell it if it was just sent in to like CGC for those things. Like I would probably sell it for that. But if it was me personally in front of Todd getting this signed while he's there, I keep that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's too iconic of a book to pass for me. You know, it fits the mode of this is a keeper. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I got a statue right there of that cover. So imagine putting the platinum one right next to it.
Yeah.
You know,
and
I'm thinking about getting a graded copy just for the hell of it.
Yeah, you know what? Like if I saw it at a con, it was less than 100. I would pick it up, and I've got I've got an attachment to this era because that was kind of my prime. I collect many more comics now, but back then it was different. And we talked about Wizard Magazine and all that, and with this, like with Todd taking over this book, it was a huge deal when it first came out, and I just kind of remember that. So I have a very good kind of memory of this era, so I definitely want to keep that. That's why I have so many copies of this book on my own anyway.
Yeah, so there you have it. That's number one for this list for the Copper Age. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more comic content. Check out these other videos for even more insight, and I'll see you at the next one. Excelsior.